Ethan's face turned crimson. I was just... Shh. Claire crossed the room and kissed his temple. You don't have to explain. You're allowed to want this. He buried his face in his hands, muffling his voice. I don't know what's happening to me. Claire's voice was steady, reassuring. You're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself. Piece by piece. Ethan peeked up at her, the skirt brushing softly against his legs. For the first time, he didn't feel ashamed. Just seen. And that realization scared him even more than rejection ever could. The package had arrived on a Wednesday afternoon, tucked innocently on the doorstep like any other online order. Ethan had snatched it quickly, heart pounding, before any neighbors could notice. He carried it inside like contraband, shoving it into his room before Claire got home. For 2 days, he left it unopened. Just seeing the brown cardboard box sitting in the corner was enough to send a mix of dread and thrill through him. By the third night, curiosity won. He tore it open in the quiet after midnight. Inside was a pale lavender blouse, soft and silky beneath his trembling fingers. He pressed it to his chest, whispering the name again under his breath, Lila. The next morning, Claire caught him. Not in the blouse itself, but staring at it in the mirror with an expression she hadn't seen before, something between terror and longing. She leaned against the doorway, arms folded. You didn't tell me you ordered something. Ethan jumped, nearly dropping the blouse. I wasn't. It's not. Claire walked over, plucking the blouse gently from his hands. She held it up, her eyes warm. It's beautiful. And very you. Ethan's voice cracked. Claire, I don't know what I'm doing. I keep telling myself this is just curiosity, but it's not going away. Claire set the blouse carefully on the bed. Maybe it's not supposed to go away. He sank onto the mattress, burying his face in his hands. But what if people find out? What if I lose everything? Claire sat beside him, her hand finding his. Then you build something better. With me. With honesty. With Lila, if you want her. Silence stretched, broken only by Ethan's shaky breath. Finally, he lifted his head. What if I'm not strong enough? You don't have to be, Claire said softly. Strength doesn't come from denying who you are. It comes from letting yourself exist. That night, for the first time, Ethan didn't wait until she was gone. He put on the blouse while Claire sat on the couch beside him. It shimmered faintly under the lamplight, catching the curve of his shoulders. Claire smiled, brushing a strand of wig hair back into place. There she is. Ethan laughed nervously, tugging at the fabric. You make it sound like she's always been here. Claire's eyes sparkled. Maybe she has. And maybe she's tired of being a secret. Ethan stared at his reflection in the dark TV screen, the blouse framing him in a way that made denial harder than ever. For the first time, he didn't just wonder what it would be like if Lila stayed. He wondered what it would be like if Lila lived. By mid-January, the rhythm of their days had shifted. Ethan still worked his long shifts at the hospital, but every evening when he came home, the choice lingered like a ghost in the air, Ethan's clothes or Lila's. Sometimes it was just the lavender blouse. Other times, the powder blue dress. More often than not, he ended up on the couch with Claire, stockings tucked under sweatpants, heart racing every time she looked at him knowingly. But the more comfortable Lila became at home, the louder the outside world loomed. One Saturday morning, Claire set her coffee down and said it casually, like she was asking about groceries. We should go out shopping today. Ethan froze halfway through buttering his toast. Shopping? For what? Claire smiled. For Lila. The knife clattered against the plate. No, absolutely not. Why not? Because it's one thing to go to dinner at your sister's where everyone's polite. But a store? With strangers? People who don't know me? That's different. He broke off, his chest tightening. That's too much. Claire reached across the table, her voice gentle but steady. It's not too much if you don't do it alone. Ethan pushed back from the table, pacing the kitchen. Claire, you don't get it. Out there, people look. They judge. At your sister's, I could pretend. But in public, he shook his head violently. I'll fall apart. Claire stood and crossed to him, placing a hand against his chest. You won't. Because you've already proved you can handle more than you think. Remember the walk to the corner? Remember New Year's dinner? Ethan swallowed hard, his pulse thundering beneath her hand. This is different. Claire leaned closer, her eyes locking onto his. Ethan, listen to me. Lila doesn't belong only in our apartment. She deserves more than four walls. And deep down, I think you want that too. The words struck him hard. Because she was right. He did want it. The thought of browsing racks of clothes, of picking something that was his and not borrowed, made his chest ache with both fear and longing. But the fear was louder. I can't, he whispered. Claire tilted her head, studying him. Then, instead of pressing, she smiled softly. Then we'll start smaller. Not a store. Not yet. Ethan frowned. Smaller. Tomorrow's Sunday, Claire said, her grin mischievous now. We'll go for coffee. Just us. A quiet cafe where no one cares who's sitting at the corner table. You can wear whatever you feel comfortable in. Even just a blouse under a jacket. No pressure. Just a step. Ethan groaned, dragging his hands down his face. You don't let up, do you? Not when I believe in you, she teased. That night, lying in bed, Ethan stared at the ceiling while Claire slept peacefully beside him. His mind kept replaying the moment at her sister's dinner table, the warmth of being called Lila without hesitation. Could that happen again? Could it happen out there, beyond the walls of their apartment? He turned onto his side, clutching the pillow, whispering the name into the dark like a secret prayer. Lila. Tomorrow, she might have to step into the world again. Sunday morning arrived with a quiet tension. The city outside was gray and damp, the kind of winter day that begged for coffee shops and soft scarves. Ethan stood frozen in front of the closet, staring at the choices Claire had laid out for him. On the bed, the lavender blouse, his plain black jacket, and a pair of slim jeans that on any other day would have been just Ethan's jeans. Today, paired with the blouse, they became something else entirely. Claire appeared in the doorway, hair pulled back into a simple ponytail, holding her travel mug. Well, what's it going to be? Ethan rubbed his temples. If I wear this, people will know. They'll see. Claire crossed the room and set a hand on his shoulder. They'll see Lila. That's the point. His heart thundered, but somehow he found himself slipping into the blouse, pulling the jacket over it, and stepping into the jeans. When Claire brushed a little powder across his face and added a touch of lip gloss, the reflection in the mirror made his chest ache. Not fully Ethan. Not fully Lila. Something in between. Perfect, Claire whispered. Minutes later, they walked down the block, Claire's hand steady in his. The cafe was warm and bustling, the windows fogged with condensation. The moment they stepped inside, Ethan's nerves spiked. Every chair was filled with students hunched over laptops, couples chatting, and a few families sipping cocoa. He froze at the door. Claire. She squeezed his hand. Breathe. No one's looking. He risked a glance around. She was right. Not a single head turned. The barista didn't blink as they approached the counter. What can I get started for you? Claire ordered her usual latte, then nudged him. Ethan's voice cracked, but he managed to say, a chai latte, please. The barista smiled. Great choice. She scribbled the order without hesitation. When they sat at a corner table, Ethan's hands shook around the paper cup. Did you see that? She didn't even. Of course not, Claire said calmly. You're just a woman ordering coffee on a Sunday morning. Nothing unusual about that. The words settled into him like warmth from the chai. For the next 20 minutes, they sipped quietly, chatting about movies and weekend plans. No one stared. No one whispered. The world didn't collapse. At one point, Claire leaned across the table, her eyes soft. You realize this is the first time Lila has had coffee in public. Ethan blinked, then laughed nervously. Don't make it sound like a milestone. It is a milestone, Claire said firmly. And you should be proud. On the walk home, something shifted. The winter air was still cold, but Ethan held himself taller, the jacket open just enough to reveal the lavender blouse beneath. A tiny rebellion. Halfway back, Claire stopped and pulled out her phone. Wait here, I need to grab something from the store. 2 minutes. Ethan froze. By myself? Out here. "You'll be fine," she said with a wink. "I'll be right back." As she disappeared into the corner shop, Ethan stood alone on the sidewalk, his breath clouding in the air. A passerby brushed past him, muttering a polite sorry without a second glance. A group of teenagers laughed loudly as they walked by, but not at him. For the first time, Ethan realized the truth. The world wasn't looking. When Claire returned, she found him smiling faintly to himself. "What's that look for?" she teased. He shook his head, still dazed. "Nothing. Just, maybe Lila really can exist out here." Claire grinned, linking her arm through his. "Told you so." That night, long after Claire had drifted to sleep, Ethan lay awake replaying the day over and over. The sound of the barista's casual, "great choice," the way no one blinked twice at him in the cafe, the freedom of standing alone on the sidewalk without the world collapsing, each memory buzzed in his chest like a secret song. For the first time, he wasn't haunted by what if. He was haunted by what next. The following week, he found himself carrying little echoes of Lila into daily life. At work, under his scrubs, he wore the lavender blouse once, hidden, but enough to remind him she was still there. Another day, he tucked a pair of stockings beneath his jeans. It was reckless, and if anyone noticed, he could claim it was nothing. But no one did. Each small step felt like walking a tightrope. Terrifying. Exhilarating. Addictive. Claire noticed, of course. She always did. One evening, she caught him staring too long in the mirror, blouse half-buttoned, scrubs draped over a chair. She leaned against the doorway, smirking. "You're getting bold." He jumped. I was just. "Don't bother," she interrupted warmly. "You don't have to explain. You're not hiding from me." Ethan slumped, cheeks burning. "But I'm still hiding from everyone else." Claire's eyes softened. "That's okay. The world doesn't need all of you yet. But you do. And you're letting her breathe more every day." The words lodged in his chest, both comforting and terrifying. A few nights later, while Claire worked late, Ethan found himself scrolling online. Not for games. Not for distractions. For clothes. Dresses. Shoes. Even simple tops and skirts. He filled shopping carts he never bought from, his heart racing with the thought, what if these were mine? When Claire came home, she caught him closing the laptop too quickly. She didn't press, but her smile said she already knew. By midweek, the cafe outing had become their private shorthand. Whenever Ethan wavered, Claire would say, "Remember the coffee," and he'd remember how ordinary it had felt, how the world hadn't stopped spinning. One Thursday night, as they curled on the couch, Claire dropped her voice low. "You know, we could go back. To the cafe. Or someplace new." Ethan's pulse quickened. "I don't know if I'm ready."